The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
From the birthplace of modern winemaking, Sonoma, California, welcome to The Winemakers, with your hosts, Brian Casey, Danielle Langlois, Bart Hansen, and Sam Katuri.
That's a stream, baby.
That's that new way. The box.
It's a box wine stream.
Box wine pour. It was more awkward and suggestive than I figured it was going to be. I'm not going to lie. That was a pretty intimate moment, Danielle. I need a cigarette.
No, Danielle was holding something, and then a stream of liquid came out.
Well, I had to set the microphone.
I was being a support.
You know, the bottle pour glass you can stick in front of the microphone with the box and the nozzle.
It requires
more logistics.
Yeah. It needs at least 3 hands.
And I only got 2. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to The Winemakers episode.
This might be it.
Do we want to just call this one episode 400?
We could do it.
Episode 400.
The crowd goes wild. We made so much.
Wait, Bart's not here.
Bart's not here. Sorry, Bart. Well, we did blow past episode 100 and 200 and only started paying attention until episode 300. So we could just pretend that episode 400 happened and we didn't know and celebrate in a year and a half when we get to 500 and then retire or something because Jesus Christ, 500 episodes. Episode something. 4, 3, 4, 6, 7.
6, 7.
6, 7. I was just talking. Never mind.
Word.
6, 7 is dead. The grown-ups killed it.
Yes. Well, I still like it, so Quinn and I are going to say it forever. We'll get matching tattoos. Not really.
when Bart's not here, it gets weird. Well, we have guests up in... How many... We've been talking about trying to get you on the podcast forever, Tyler. Tyler Balliet, Morgan First. Of the Rosé Mansion Rebel School of Wine world. Do you have a business name?
We have a lot of business names.
Yeah,
right. I think we have 22 LLCs at this point.
Serial LLCers.
Is there a tax reason for that?
They're really easy to create and they're really hard to get rid of.
It's like tissue paper.
They never decompose. LLCs. They last forever. Plastic shopping bags that we're not allowed to use in California anymore. So I've known Tyler since. My 30th birthday was at the San Francisco Wine Riot.
Okay.
Which would have made it 2013.
But the first one you came to was the New York one, right?
Was before that.
Yeah.
And so what year was that? 2012?
It could have been 2012.
2012.
We started taking Wine Riot on tour in 2011. It would have been a 2012 or 2013.
So that's a long time. And to sort of see how far the wine industry has come and how far it has not. The conversation, the way I found out about Wine Riot is we were having a conversation about how you sell wine to millennials. Holy fuck. Have we figured it out yet?
We haven't.
It was at a olive oil marketing conference that my mother had dragged me to. And in the conference on my iPhone, I filled out the form on the Wine Riot website. Second Glass, that was probably another one of your 17 LLCs,
yep.
22 LLCs. Filled out the form and, I had no idea. I'd never worked. I knew even less about how to be in the wine business than I do now. And so I had no idea that it would cost money to do one of these tastings. And Tyler got back to me. The notoriety of my last name, I think, is what made you. At least that's what you said.
I called everybody back.
You called everybody back? It wasn't just me?
I was like,
you're not special.
We were running a wine festival. We needed wine. But no, I saw the last name and, I know how to use Google.
Right. I was less Googleable then.
And we didn't have that many people reaching out to us at that point.
Right.
It was a lot of people that I had to reach out to. So I was just excited.
So basically, we did 3 wine rights. Let's start from the beginning. how did Wine Riot happen? You were second class. You were like publishing things.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into all the things, Rosé Mansion, Rebel School of Wine, all the things that have happened over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
But start with second class.
Okay, so here's how it started. Like, I grew up in Wisconsin. Nobody in my family drank wine. Lots of beer. We were a Miller High Life family. I went to college out in Washington State. I drank some wine, and then I ended up in France. Right after college, I moved to France because I was dating a girl, and she got an English teaching position. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'll go to France. And I didn't really speak any French, and I didn't have that much to do. And so I ended up drinking a lot of wine, like you do. And lived in kind of the middle of nowhere. It was halfway between like Rennes and Le Mans, kind of Loire, kind of not. And so there was really nothing to do, but wine was like $3 or $4 a bottle. Great.
It was probably good wine too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that stuff. Like I see the brands now, and I saved a bunch of the labels, and I'm like, these are like $30 now, and I was buying this for €3. Like I was like, €5, that's too much. That's a special occasion wine. And so I ended up moving to Boston of all places, where I'd never lived because I needed somewhere to live, and my brother was graduating from college, and I needed a roommate, and there was a wine store across the street, and so I got a job in the wine store, and I started working, and I saw all these people my age coming in. I just turned 25, and everybody wanted to learn about wine. I was trying to learn about wine, and there wasn't a good way to do it. Like you could take a $1,200 class or read a 1,000-page book. But if you just wanted a little bit of information, there wasn't a good way to do that. And after college, I thought I would get a job because that's what you're supposed to do. And by the end of the first week, I was like, I made a huge mistake. How do I get out of this? And so I started a print publication about wine called Second Class. And that's how I met my partner, Morgan. And it made no money. We did these giant newspaper prints, and we just gave them away for free all over the city. But we were writing about wine in a totally different way. And Morgan's the one that said, hey, why don't you throw launch events for these, for these print publications? And so I called up a couple of the wineries, or really distributors that we wrote about, and they're like, do you want cases of wine for this event? And so in 10 minutes, I got 6 cases of wine. More people came to the event than read the publication. And I was like, this is what we're doing from now on. And so we started doing 30-person events that turned into 300-person events. And we finally decided that we needed to make some money at this. And we saw all these beer events happening and all these people coming together for these like beer festivals. And there wasn't a cool wine festival. And we kept on going to wine festivals, and we're like, how did you screw this up? How did you take a giant room full of alcohol and make it boring and crappy? And the beer events were fun. So why can't we do that with wine?
Yes.
And this was 2009 as we did the first one. And the Saturday night sold out. We sold, I think, like 1,600 or 1,800 tickets. And it was wild.
This
I
is
was
Wine
addicted.
Riot 1.0.
Yeah.
And what was this in Boston?
This was in Boston. And so we did another one. The second one totally flopped because sophomore slump always... With events, the second one is always difficult. And then we really got the hang of the marketing. And so the third one completely sold out, 3,000 tickets. And so in 2 years, the second year we did 2 of these events and sold 6,000 tickets. And I think a normal person would say, let's add 1 new city. But we're insane. And so we said, let's add 5 new cities.
At the same time.
Yeah. So in 2011, we added New York, Chicago, DC, and LA. Yeah, and then we did Boston again, so that was 5. And then the next year we added San Francisco. And before we knew it, we owned a traveling circus.
Yeah.
It really was a traveling circus. I mean, I still have never been or participated in a wine event that was quite like Wine Riot.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it in San Francisco?
It was in the exposition hall, like out there in Soma.
It's destroyed now. I think they bulldozed it. We only did 2 in San Francisco. We struggled. San Francisco was kind of our least attended events. New York, we found out a little bit later that some of the events we struggled to do well. Like DC, it's hard to find a venue that does the licensing properly, even though we had the audience. And so we consolidated at some point and just doubled down on the cities that worked, which were Boston, New York, and Chicago. And then we started selling 25,000 tickets a year. We would have like 1,500 people waiting lists to get in.
Wow.
Just the parking alone for an event of that size is like,
Well, I
where
don't
would
think
you
you
do
park
that?
in-
Nobody's
York.
parking.
Nobody's parking
Everyone's
in those cities.
Everyone's cabin.
Well, and let me tell you, ain't nobody driving after that.
It was
There was those
we got a lot of people very drunk.
Yeah.
And it was this difficult situation because we needed the sessions to be very long because not everybody shows up on time and it takes a second to get going. We didn't.
And they were big. There was a lot of, how many producers were in? I mean, there was a lot of wine at that one, especially the one in the city felt like there was a lot of tables.
Yeah, I think we started with like 40 or 50. So we had a ratio. So basically we could only sell as many tickets as we had booths because I didn't want lines. We didn't want people to sit in lines. We wanted there to be a conversation.
That's smart. Yep.
And I believe, this was 10 years ago since we stopped doing it. I think it was somewhere around 18 or 22 attendees for every booth. And at a certain point, somewhere around 2014, we couldn't sell enough booths, not enough wineries. It was tough, right? The wineries didn't know how to interact with anybody. They didn't know how to capitalize on this. They really didn't even know how to talk to consumers. And so we started building our own booths. We built 22 booths. So we built a booth for every single region of the world. Yeah, so we had California. California had a red and white. France had a red and white. We had Italy. We had Argentina and South America. We had all these countries. And then we had grape booths. So we would have Merlot, Cabernet, Chardonnay. And then we bought the wine. We just paid for it wholesale. And then we hired the staff and trained the staff. And so you could go to the Cabernet booth and taste 8 Cabernets from 8 different countries side by side and have somebody talk to you that was really excited to be there and speak with you, which wasn't always the case with the producers. Right. I mean, you were very excited.
Well, I think back at those, especially there was one, I don't remember if the app to vote on wines that you liked.
That was from the beginning.
Was at the beginning. I know one of those, because there was giant producers there, and then they're like in the corner, little old 16600. And at one of them, the Dos Limones Syrah was the most thumbs up wine it was one of the ones in New York. Mm-hmm. And, I think that because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know that we weren't supposed to be nice to people or whatever. Like the wine.
No, I'm saying it's because you had good wine and you were nice, and that was really rare.
Yeah,
that's what drove us to make our own booths.
I mean, it makes sense. We sort of went in without any sort of understanding of how this was supposed to work, which I think was to our advantage in that environment.
Yeah, but so we had an app back when everybody was making apps. 2009, 10, something like that. And you could mark the wines you liked because we'd go to these wine tastings and they give you a paper guide and you're going to lose that. Yeah. And even if you don't lose it, you're not taking it with you to the store. And so we built an app. And then to encourage app users, we had giant screens with the top list. Guys like, girls like, the top wines, the top booths. And we didn't kind of see that coming, but it became a competition with the different vendors. Be like, I want to be number one. And we would collect 20, 30,000 reviews at each event. It was like Andre Mack figured out how to hack our app back in.
Really?
Yeah. And he had people back in Washington, but we ended up having to block the IP addresses. It was really funny. We were like, kudos. That's how you do this.
What was in the original publication? What would you write about?
Yeah, actually a lot of the things that I wrote about, I ended up putting in my book, Rebel School of Wine, that came out 15 years later. So the first issue, we also had fun, right? Yeah. So I think I wrote an in-depth article about Australian wine and what's going on in Australia. I remember Morgan went to Argentina and we ended up writing an article about, being in Mendoza and the foothills, but then we judged all the different sparkling wines. So we had Cava, Prosecco, Champagne. We judged it by how far we could shoot the cork. And so one of my friends that was helping us with this, he was in a PhD program. He ended up getting a PhD in biomedical engineering. And so he's helping us run the data sheets on this because we're in Boston. We're surrounded by smarty pantses, right? Yeah. So we were able to do a actual real analysis, graph it out, chart it out. It was fun.
I mean, I was going to ask, how did you go from never having wine to having the audacity to write about it? I mean, what was that? Talk about your learning curve in the wine world. Because you definitely, your knowledge of wine is deep, probably unconventional, and certainly came unconventionally. But talk about that sort of like process. You kind of skipped from from being in Loire and drinking the €5 bottles to a publication.
Yeah,
and because not everybody goes to work in a wine shop and says, "Oh, well, let me make a broadsheet about this thing that I'm trying to sell," as opposed to just like trying to get
put it out in the
done.
world.
Like, make sure you remember to take the trash out at the end of your shift. That's like baseline.
Yeah, so originally I wasn't going to be writing the articles. I thought in my head I would be the editor and I would be pulling the whole thing together.
Is this what your like academic background is? Sorry to interrupt. I know that.
No, I was on yearbook in high school, and I was on yearbook in high school, and I was the layout editor of my college newspaper at the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. I don't know. I just knew how to do some print things, and so that's what I knew how to do. So I said, sure, let's start there. But very quickly, even the first issue, I realized that I was not going to find the kind of people that were going to write about wine the way that I wanted to. Right. So it was intimidating because I didn't know a lot, and I knew that I didn't know a lot, but I really wanted to focus on what I did know. And really quickly, I ended up getting a weekly column in this publication called like the Weekly Dig. It was the Arts and Entertainment Weekly back when we all found out what events we wanted to go to by like picking up a newspaper, And so I got a weekly column in that because, well, they didn't pay their staff and everybody quit. And so I walked in the next day being like, you guys need a column? And I never got paid from that. But, they had 80,000 readers every week. And all of a sudden, now I'm writing this. And like, I remember bumping into the sommelier from the Four Seasons who I'd never met. He's like, oh yeah, I read this every single week. I was like, I got to pay more attention to this. No, but I wanted.
Isn't that terrifying though when people are like, oh, they come to a podcast and like, oh, we learned so much from your podcast. And I was like, no, please don't. Like, what did you learn? Oh no.
So I started getting invited to a lot of the like distributor tastings in Boston and getting invited to these industry events. And I really quickly saw the very first one I went to, it was with Jean Trimbach, and he was pouring like Riesling from the 50s, which was just like welcome to wine. Yeah. Like that was the best way to start this thing, right? And it was a room full of probably 150 sales reps, 100 different buyers and all this stuff. And he gets up, he pours these incredible wines, and he's really sweet and he's really nice. And he's like, who has any questions? And nobody had questions. And at some point, one person was like, I noticed that this is how you like blended the whatever, it wasn't a real question. And so I just raised my hand and I just started asking really basic questions. And people were laughing at me and they're snickering at me. And then they would write down the answers when they got it, right? Yeah. I was really inspired by, Tom Wolfe, electric Kool-Aid acid tests. There's a story about how he went to one of his first reporting gigs. He went to a NASCAR race and he dressed in like somebody that went to a NASCAR race, and everyone just assumed he knew what a carburetor was, and everybody just assumed he knew how everything worked. And he's like, this is not, I can't do this. So he started just wearing the white suit and the hat, and like, he's like, if I look like an alien, they will explain everything to me. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I just took that to heart. I was just like, I don't care if people laugh at me. I don't care if I'm asking the simplest question in the room. And it turns out that nobody else knew the answers to these questions either. And the producers are happy to explain. And then I started getting invited on press trips to Europe. So the first one, I judged the wine competition in Vino Verde on behalf of America. I was like 27 years old. Like somebody canceled at the last minute. They're like, can you go to Portugal in 3 days? I was like, yes. And that's how I found out you can get a rush passport really easily. And because I was just expired. And yeah, so then I started touring and getting invited to these press trips, and I had $0, right? Couldn't pay my electricity bill. I once flew to France with $36 in my bank account, and I didn't have a credit card. And they're like, this is all expenses paid, right? And they're like, yep. And I was like, good, because otherwise I live here. And all the time I'd be with these journalists and these different press people, and we would be hanging out with these producers, and the producers would always be, they'd be like, hey, who wants to ride with me in my car? Well, you guys take like the 7-person bus. And I would always be like, I'll ride in your car. Like, I want to learn from you. And so instead of asking them questions about wine, I asked them questions about business, because that's what I'm really into. Like, that's what I'm super interested in. What's it like selling in the U.S. market? What's the perception of U.S. wine? What do you struggle with? What's the difficulty? And you start asking people in Europe, like winemakers, about politics, and you get some really, really good answers.
Not shy.
Yeah. And so I spent a couple of years just traveling around Europe for free, learning about all these things, but asking questions that nobody else was asking. And so much of this stuff went in my book. And everyone was like, you can't quote me on this, but I'm going to tell you the story. I'm like, I have nowhere to quote you, so great. Like, but now I did, and I didn't quote them.
Statute of limitations.
But it's like, yeah, but it's all like crazy stuff. Like I learned the real story about what happened in Prosecco, from the people there.
What's the story?
They almost lost the name. There's a huge, huge fight between the corporations that came in and bought all the land and the people who have been there for generations. Huh. And it's a really, really tough battle that they're fighting. And they almost lost the name Prosecco because Prosecco was the name of the name of the grape. It was the name of the grape. Yeah. So they had to change the name of the grape. Yeah, I wrote the whole story in my book. But there's a ton of these
you're saying
politics.
Buy the book.
I'm saying I wrote the book 2 years ago. And now I shouldn't have used that as an example because I'm blanking. No, but there's all of this politics and there's all of these things that happen that make wine what it is, And that's what was really curious to me. A lot of people are really fascinated by what things smell like or taste like. But for me, why you want to understand wine, you have to understand people. People make wine. Wine doesn't make itself. People make wine. People drink wine. People buy wine. People sell wine. You learn about the people, then you'll understand wine.
I sometimes apologize to people here in the tasting room because I feel like there's so many roads you can go down when you're talking about wine, and you're not sure what people are into or what they're going to connect with. So you're just kind of like talking about everything, and then sometimes in my brain as I'm talking, I'm like, I'm talking way too much about all this shit. And sometimes I'll say, you know what, I'm sorry. There's so much information, like the first time you come here, that I just want to share everything with you. But if you don't care about any of this stuff, then there's no reason for me to tell it to you. But you can talk about 10 different things about that glass of wine that have nothing to do with the way it tastes.
Yeah, and I think it's just about reading the room, and that's what we've become really, really good at. And a big part of it too is telling people what they're walking into and letting them make the decision and letting them opt in.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get surprised with a sit-down academic wine tasting when they're on a date on a Friday night at 7 p.m.
Right.
They will hate you forever.
Yeah. So at what point do then you decide you have all this information in your head, you need to somehow put it down into a book?
Yeah, so we started Wine Riot in 2009, and we ran that through 2016. We were selling about 25,000 tickets a year. In 2010, we decided we needed to write a book, and we wrote the outline for the book.
And by we, you mean?
With Morgan, my partner.
Okay.
She is the instigator.
Who is the silent partner today, by the way?
We've turned her microphone off.
It is literally off until I'm told to turn it on.
We've been together for 19 years. There's a dynamic. There's a lot of banter. No, but we wrote the outline for this book in 2010. We had to sit down with a major publisher, and they loved the idea.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What was that process like? How do you find someone to publish a book?
Oh, Morgan went to school for publishing at Emerson College.
Okay.
She knows a few people, I guess.
It's got like a Penn and Teller thing going right now. I'm actually kind of digging this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Which is Morgan, because I'm usually the quiet one. And I'm not quiet. I am not a quiet person, but comparatively, I'm usually quiet. No, so we wrote she was like, I'll call some of my friends, and we got to sit down just to kind of experiment. And they loved the idea. They said, let's write a chapter and bring it back. I tried writing a chapter, and I was like, I do not have time for this. I do not have time for this. There's no possible way I can run this company that we're trying to start and run and write a book at the same time.
Well, that one chapter, when someone asks you for a chapter, you want to make it like everything the coolest thing ever, right?
No, I couldn't even get a first draft done. I didn't have time. It's really, really... I learned this when I actually sat down to write it, but nonfiction is really painful. It's just a really, really, really painful way to write. The research is really fun. The writing, everybody hates it.
You think it's just not exciting?
I got really depressed, and I was worried that I was actually what am I doing with my life? This is terrible. And Morgan had to put up with me every single day. And I had a therapist that was like helping coach people through PhD programs. And she's like, everybody gets depressed when they write nonfiction. I was like, really? And I started looking into it. And there's all these interviews with, like the big major nonfiction writers, and they all hate it too. Everybody hates
Doris
it.
Keene Goodwin and stuff like that. Like who?
Michael Lewis.
Okay, yeah.
And everybody loves doing the research and collecting all the information. And when they sit down to write it, you just get really depressed. She was like, just take like 3 days off. Took 3 days off. I felt great. I was like, okay, now I know. Like, that's it. But it's just a painful process. It's so painfully slow. Like, there would be days that, like, I don't think I ever wrote more than a whole page in one day. It was usually, if I could write a half page, it would be huge. I would go 2 weeks without writing a single sentence, but I'd be sitting there for 8 hours a day because I'm trying to like sort it out. I'm trying to like, what information is missing? Because I wanted to write a different kind of book. Okay, so the process of how this happened, 2010, we ran Wine Riot, and it needed to end. It was a good business to run in our like 20s. It was an enormous amount of like effort. Like we'd load out of the events at 4:00 in the morning on a Saturday. It would be back-to-back 18-hour days. And the revenue wasn't there. We would never be in the spot that we could even have a full-time staff like all year. It was a struggle. So a point came, we tried to open a wine store in Boston, which was, we don't have to get into that, but
I was going to skip over that part of like my brain timeline of things that happened.
It's fine.
I want to get to Rosé Mansion, but
so basically we ended up we had to sell like Wine Riot, and it wasn't like a buy a beach house sale. It was like a take my problems and let me walk away sale. And then they fired us, which was crazy. And getting fired from your own company is intense. And
because that wasn't originally part of the deal. It was, you're going to buy it, but we're still going to be involved.
We were in a spot where we didn't have a choice, and we had to do it very fast, like days. We did the whole deal in like less than a week because we didn't have a choice. And we tried to get them to like understand our position, and they just refused. And they thought they could just kind of take this thing and just make a bunch of money with it, and they really didn't.
But it was so personal to you that they didn't get that.
Yeah, like we were wristbanding people when they were coming in the doors. Like everybody knew us, like 25,000 people a year. Like they knew us.
And that was the magic.
Yeah. And all the vendors and everything. So anyways, we needed to let that one go, and it did. And then we came up with this idea for Rosé Mansion. And
can we turn Morgan's microphone on?
Yeah, I think so. This is a great time to turn Morgan's microphone on.
You're officially on, Morgan.
Morgan, welcome to the Winemakers Podcast.
And now I'm going to jump in and say, I think the other thing with Wine Riot was like, we would have never let it go. But then as soon as it was gone, we were like, oh my God, we were holding on to so much baggage. Actually, that was great. Like, we needed to quit.
Yeah, we were clinging onto a business model that didn't work great. We were clinging on to, as great as it was, we were never gonna be able to like have a retirement plan. Like it had to end at some point, and we had to bet the entire company on every event. And at one point we knew there would be an event that would just be out of our control and it would tank us. And it happened in September 2016.
Okay. But then Rosé Mansion.
Oh yeah. So we took a minute. We ended up with no money, but a lot of airline miles. And so
were you trying to run the store and the events at the same time?
Yeah. We had this great idea that people came to the events and whatever. We don't have to get into it. It didn't work.
The store was really pretty. That's all
I remember pictures, and I remember we talked about like figuring out how to get our wine there.
Oh yeah, we were working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, but Rosé Mansion.
Yeah, just because it's a good idea and it's a business that could work doesn't mean you want to run it. That was the issue. I was used to flying 150,000 miles a year, and then I didn't leave a single 1 mile triangle for 4 months. So anyways, we closed the store, lost Wine Riot, and we're just like, Morgan got a job for the first time ever. And we wanted to solve a lot of the problems we had with the events, right? The event was, we'll get into the venue at 7 a.m., and at 7 p.m., 2,000 people would come. That's not a lot of time to set up. Yeah. And at the same time, we were seeing these like design forward experiences and places. And we had just built a gorgeous wine store. We made illustrations that wrapped the entire space. A lot of them were like, the illustrations that we started doing at Wine Riot were inspired style for the Rebel School of Wine book. And so Morgan came to me and had this crazy idea. I came up with the name Rosé Mansion for something else. And then Morgan had this idea. She was like, let's make a giant wine pop-up. Like Museum of Ice Cream had just gotten very popular. And we went, and we're event people. We walk through an event, we could make a P&L, right? So we're like, wait, this solves all of our problems, right? We have a long time to build it out. And at the same time, people were coming to Wine Riot and taking photos, and their friends were like, where are you? And it's basically at this thing that you're not going to be able to go to for 6 months and you'll forget about, right? Whereas if it's a physical place, they can take a photo and their friend can come next week, right? And so we had no money. We borrowed $75,000, and we ended up we
got a space on
Fifth Avenue. Like we got a 14,000 square foot space on Fifth Avenue. Yeah, because it was a retail space that had gone out of business, and it takes them 9 months to re-sign a commercial lease. And I said, I'll be in and out in 6 months, and I'll pay 30 cents on the dollar for the lease price. And
You're like
okay.
the Halloween store.
Yeah.
No, it was that.
Halloween spirit.
Yeah. And so.
But Rosé.
And Rosé was peaking. This was 2018. And so Rosé was peaking.
Yes Way Rosé lifestyle was such a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And so we had this crazy idea. We're like, okay, we're going to build this giant pink wine amusement park in Manhattan. And we didn't have any money. The vendors floated us the money.
I sweet talked people. I was like, guys, it's going to be big. It's going to be the next Museum of Ice Cream. We're going to pay you more if you give us
I said
the
I would give them
time.
10% more than like whatever their invoice was if they gave me 90-day terms. And they floated us 3 different vendors. We told them the risk. They knew the risk. They floated us like $600,000.
Yeah, but everyone came out well.
Yeah, we never. So anyways, we put this thing together, and it was just like, I remember we got the keys to the space. We're like, okay, we have 1 month to open. What are we gonna do in the space? And we just went to Home Depot and we got masking tape, and we just started taping up this 14,000 square foot space, and we ended up building it out, and
it was like multiple floors.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and so the night before we opened, I was pouring pink epoxy flooring in the blending lab room until 5 a.m. And I went home. I slept for 45 minutes. And at 10 a.m., Good Morning America. I was on Good Morning America.
But the best part was it was originally ABC, and they showed up and they were just going to do a walkthrough themselves. And I literally like pushed Tyler in front of them. I was like, no, Tyler's really good on camera. Just walk through with Tyler. And they did one take, and we're like, oh, can you say that slightly different? And Tyler repeated it exactly the way they wanted. And they were like, okay, done. And did the whole walkthrough. And then it got bumped up to Good Morning America.
And this all happened that morning. They filmed it that morning. Then my mom called me. She's like, you're on Good Morning America. And then CNN came, and then I was on Chinese TV. All the press came. So we sold 80,000 tickets in 16 weeks.
Wow.
And
Everybody, Instagram, all the like wine and customers of ours and my cousins who all lived in New York, everybody was posting pictures at freaking Rosé Mansion.
It was sold out like 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
1,000
chandelier
people a day.
swing.
We had to be closed 1 day a week because people destroyed the place.
You needed to
You know?
clean.
No, clean. Like, I mean, there was one morning, like I was telling the story last night that we were, somebody ripped the sink off the bathroom.
Stuff happened.
And this was before we had like
tastes of
a
wine.
staff. And so my friend Dan, who I was like, I'm not doing this with my friend Dan. He's like our fixer. Like he's like, if you need something done fast, he'll get it done. And so he and I, we thought we had a day off for the first day. And so we got drunk the night before. And then it's like 6 a.m. We're standing in Home Depot staring, Googling how to fix sinks and what kind of pipes we need,
But I think the whole idea was that, what we had started with Second Glass, that we had then continued into Wine Riot, and then we had continued into the store, was this idea of letting the consumer be the focus and making a really fun wine environment around them where they felt safe.
Yeah.
And
educational. It might have just looked all pink and fun. And we got so much hate. The New York Times.
Yeah.
Really? You got a New York Times bad review?
I've wanted it. We've done very well with
the headline
press.
Fun is meaningless?
No, it was that was
Sounds like the Great Lady.
I've been in every major newspaper. I've been on most major TV stations. Like I've been really lucky with press. I never got the New York Times. It was like my white whale. And then when they wrote a hate piece about us, I was like, our PR company called us. They're like, is everybody okay? How are you doing? I'm like, this is better than a good piece. They hate what I'm doing. Like anybody can get a good piece. They hate it. But the whole idea was like having fun is meaningless. And people came and like VinePair wrote a terrible article about it and they just like lied about a bunch of stuff. But they did. They just like
Friend of the podcast,
it was clickbait.
VinePair.
They didn't.
VinePair is synonymous with clickbait. How you doing, Keith?
Hey, Keith. Thanks for listening.
And so, but we knew what we were doing and we knew that we had this audience. It was 95% women and they were coming to have fun, but we had a blending lab.
95% women.
95% women.
But to your point, like it was education based. So like the very first room you walked in, it was this mix of play. It was this mix of play and education where the first room, it was a riff off the Kusama, like in obliteration rooms where it starts white and she gives you stickers. And so we invited people in and we said, so
wait. What the
Yeah.
hell did you
okay. There's this very famous artist called Kusama, and she does something called an obliteration room where the room starts entirely white.
Like everything, floor, ceiling, everything.
And she'll fill it with like funny
and then
themed
there's like
furniture.
the table and everything's just white. They painted white.
And then she gives guests stickers and they get to cover the room in stickers. And it's this really fun evolution over the show that you get to see the room covered in stickers. And I was like, oh my God, I love that concept. What if you use that educationally? And so when people came in, the very first room, they got their tasting glass.
Before they got wine. We wanted to do this before they got any wine.
Yeah.
And then they got a sheet of stickers. And we
I
told
remember seeing this.
Yeah. And we told them, okay, so this is Rosé Mansion. We are at like the height of rosé right now. New York City, which this was true, actually drinks more rosé than anywhere in the world outside of France.
Wow.
So like, yay that you're in New York City. And we want to teach you that rosé is made from red grapes. And it's the red grapes soaking that give the wine its color. And we invite you to now soak this room that looks like a New York City backyard patio. And so we had like, a patio table and like we had a fake cat and like an ashtray.
But the
and
sticker sheet was
barbecue grill.
Different shades of red grapes. And we named them. We were like, this one's Grenache. Like this one's Cabernet. This was
is
whatever.
Mourvedre.
So they had the sticker sheet and 80,000 people there's probably like 8 or 9 stickers on that.
Oh, there was like 15 stickers. I don't know.
And so every day it got darker and darker, and then every day we could be like, see rosé.
It's the soaking
It's the
of
soaking.
grapes.
Skin
And-
contact.
Yeah. And it was such a cool thing because I always would hang out at the bar afterward and kind of like chat with people and like, try and do essentially like customer surveys
Little
without them
secret shopper.
thinking. Yeah, exactly. And every person that really had like almost no wine knowledge even would be like, oh yeah, I know rosé is made from red grapes, and I know it's the grapes soaking that make, and it was like, yes, like we had done this incredibly cool experiential thing. It was fun. People like, would try and spell their names in stickers and like group together and like make some funny image. A lot of people made dicks and we had to like disperse them or put stickers over them. That always seems to happen. But it was this really cool fun. And then the whole thing was just like 16 different rooms. We only poured wine in 8 of the 16 rooms. But it was this series of rooms that you moved through. We had, the Finger Lakes from upstate New York. And we taught them that it was like, hey, the Finger Lakes are a big deal because an immigrant came over. He started washing dishes in New York. He didn't know English.
He had a PhD, but he was washing dishes in New York.
But then he moved to upstate New York and he actually figured out like how to plant grapes and make it work. And that's why we have wine here in New York City.
And
so
that's
all
Dr.
these-
Constantine Frank, and we worked with Megan Frank, his great-granddaughter, and we had she gave us like
Family
photos that we put up in the room. Nobody paid for this, right? The wineries did not pay for this. We bought all the wine ourselves. And so that's why we made sure to buy wine from people that we knew and we cared about and it helped us out. We bought a pallet from Shauna when she was running Rockwall. Like we wanted to do that. And so
But it's always been this story of like, how do you blend education, but in this, but it's not about forcing it on people. It's not about saying you have to learn this. And it's also, it can be fucking fun. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, and we got so much hate. Like New York Times said specifically, they didn't even take wine seriously was one of the quotes. We're like, who? But
Why?
but
I'm sorry, stickers aren't serious.
But also,
enough for you.
this idea of serious has to be boring. Is that what you're saying? And what does serious even mean? It's educational and it's fun. People learn more at our events than they did at a boring thing where people just talk at them.
Like, yes, you could then sit in a bathtub and throw rose petals.
Yeah.
And you could swing from a chandelier, but that doesn't negate that people learn something.
And so we opened, the first one was really successful. We opened, and then we made a bunch of money and we just YOLO'd it on a second one. And we built a 32,000 square foot space in 2019. We still had no investors. We're running this company on an Amex card. Like, we're signing personal guarantees because we're like, I don't know, come after me. Like what are you going to get? Nothing, right? And we ended up having like 100 employees. And so we built these rooms, right? So one room was the blending lab where you could custom blend your own glass of wine. And we wrote it out to be like a deli and like your bodega order where you kind of say, I want, fruity, I want this one a little sweet, and you could add the different notes, and we just blended rosé. And VinePair articles, like, it looks like the New Jersey Turnpike. They're just pouring random wine. But then our BB Gretz, the winemaker from Tuscany, he came in and he was just like, hey, that's exactly what I do. I'm like, I know, because I've blended wine with winemakers, and that's what they do too. And so the second one we built was even bigger. We could do 2,000 people a day, and we had a room that taught people about genetics and taught people about their sensitivity to bitter flavors. Because we noticed it was 95% women. And, women are genetically predisposed to be more sensitive to bitter flavors than men. And that's why a lot of women don't like dry wine, because it tastes too bitter, right? And we were also like, the weekends were just like, it was women of color. It was a lot of Black women. And who
would tell us you have good wine?
Yeah, because we let
Other
them
places
choose.
don't have good wine.
We
you have good
let
wine.
people choose. And so we had this room. It looked like Candyland on the floor. It was really fun and playful, but it was all based on these genetic markers that tell you how sensitive to bitter flavors you are. Like, do you put cream and sugar in your coffee?
Yeah.
Do you...
Are you sensitive to loud music?
Yeah, loud music. Do you cut the tags out?
There? With the music to the way that you would perceive
It's
flavor.
like a sensitivity.
Yeah.
And so if you're extra sensitive,
There's a gene. We all have a
then
gene.
you're more
Everybody has a
sensitive to bitter
gene.
flavors.
And the food companies have known this for like 30 or 40 years. This is not new information.
Tim Hanai has a really cool book about it.
But like there's so much peer-reviewed research. I talk about it in my book. We have the Candyland like walkthrough in the book. So anyways, it was like a 25 by 25 foot room. Based on these genetic markers, we made it really fun. You walk through it, and then you either got a dry, off-dry, or sweet wine that matched your profile. And then we had a whole thing about genetics behind it, and it looked fun and playful, but it taught people, hey, this is the right wine for me. And we had 135,000 people come through that room alone, and we were right 99% of the time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But like, I didn't do this research. Like, we just you just download the peer-reviewed research and you read it, and
Yeah.
Which I love Blood of God zine, because they do the horoscope every once in a while. It's like, oh, you're a Leo. You're into Riesling.
Yeah.
Is that your birthday being
Actually,
August,
mine, I think
August 14th? Do you identify with the Riesling
the
there?
last one I read, it actually said that I was into rosé, and I'm like, yep, hell yeah, I'm into rosé.
Yeah. We just did an event with them last night.
Yeah, so let's you guys are in town. You were a DTC. We decided that we needed more time than DTC was going to give us to sit down and have this conversation. But then you were like the queens of Unified this week.
Yeah,
like you're all over the place. Talk about. I know you didn't want to talk all about DTC.
No.
Oh,
Barbara
no, I'm happy
listens.
to talk.
Barbara,
Yeah.
we love
No,
you.
we're happy to talk.
No, we're happy to talk
What did you
about
do
it.
at DTC, and then what did you do in Sacramento this week?
Yeah, so we came out to California to do the two conferences, and we wanted to look. Wine's in a tough time right now. We don't have a Rosé Mansion open. We've been throwing wine events forever, and it's hard. It's really hard to do that right now. And we're in a position where we really feel that like rising tides lifts all boats. We are experts at marketing to millennials. We're really, really, really good at it. We wanted to come out and say, how can we help? Right. What can we do? And
we know a bunch of things about how to get to these people. So like, we're here to share what we've got.
Like Rosé Mansion, we sold 225,000 tickets in 1 year, right? And, Wine Riot and press, and we know how to do these things. And so, the tricky thing with like small wineries is it's too many jobs, It's the small wineries are in the spot where they can't hire the level of marketing person that they really, really need. You need to do the job. You need a top tier, really exceptional marketing person, especially these days, and it's expensive. Yeah. And that's not how the small wineries work. So if we can come out and help,
I'm going to say this in a nicer way. the person that might be really good has to do 5 jobs. So they have to be good at 5 jobs at a winery.
Or they're focused on making good wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's great marketing people out there, but it's just, we can have larger organizations because we can build these events, and we're not in, our business model isn't selling wine. And so we wanted to come and share what we've learned, and so we could hopefully help other people. So we came to DTC and talked all about how do you leverage existing communities that are not wine, right? How do you, somebody needs to make a Taylor Swift wine, There was Taylor Swift documentary. There was a 1 second clip of her drinking Sancerre, and 4,000 cases of Sancerre sold out in 2 hours. Yeah. Why isn't there a, what do we call it?
Main character era.
Main character era Sauvignon Blanc from California. Do you know how much of that stuff you would sell? You sell it with some friendship bracelets?
But I think to your comment, it's not that.
But it could be good. Make it good. These are smart people.
Right.
These are smart, intelligent people. And, wine likes to think that their number one customer are wine hobbyists. And maybe that's probably true. But, the public, what I wanted to say is fish where the fishes are, but there's not many fishermen. Where can you go? Does your winemaker playing Dungeons and Dragons? Start hosting Dungeons and Dragons nights. Maybe you end up making Dungeons and Dragons label, or at least a box, or I don't know. What are you into?
I'm going to argue that we're in a space that understands that, because you guys said, "Hey, there might be this community of people that already exist. What if we made wine for them?" Right? Our direct to consumer wine symposium. It wasn't that we didn't want to talk about it. It was we got gifted a presentation that we were like, okay, you know what? Actually, let's flip this on its head and say, actually, it's about finding a community. And I love that we're talking about it in your podcast, because that's what you guys have done so well. And that's why I think, and then people come here and there's a special experience that nods to the community, that nods to why you guys are a genuine member of that community. And that's what we were talking about. It was just again, everyone does wine, but how do you step into another community that exists that you can be a part of the conversation?
Well, and I think that was one of my favorite sort of pieces of information that we were talking about and themes of DTC this year was sort of, and Elaine talked about it in her keynote, and it just sort of percolated through all this. We need, as much as talk about how to sell shit to millennials, abandon these age-based demographic markers.
Yes.
And there was a great word, psychographics.
Yeah.
It's one of our,
we heard that so many times.
The psychographics of think about this in groups of people who age, race, gender, none of those things matter. It's about things that they like and what they like to do,
Music
and how
they
they
like to listen to.
experience
Yeah,
things.
the big corporations
And you
that
guys have been
sell
doing that for
non-wine things.
15 years.
Big corporations and big agencies that sell non-wine things, they never lump people into generations. It's all about, make that persona. What do people like? What do they engage with? And they don't necessarily think, well, Gen Z stops here and millennials start here, so we have to do something different. It's
Are we really the only industry that keeps talking about this?
No.
Maybe they just keep pushing it on us.
No,
We're
but the thing I love about wine, and the thing I really, really love about the American wine industry, is that due to all the fractured laws and whatnot, it is wholly independent. If you look at all these other industries, you look at CPG goods, you look at packaged goods, you look at car companies, you look at all this other stuff, right? It's all consolidating. It's all getting bought up. They're all becoming one company. But wine isn't. And that's probably because of all the laws and whatnot. But it makes it really, really cool. It makes it really a lot of small independent businesses.
It's a lot of choice.
Yeah. And I think that's incredible. And that's what's amazing. And that's, it's not going to consolidate. It can't, because it's just the constraints. And I think that's incredible and it's amazing. But I do think that because everybody's a lot of small businesses, we need to come together and we need to figure out more ways to work together to act in the same way, that to have the resources that some of these big businesses and other industries have,
So, I know Barbara's favorite keyword is key takeaways. So what did you drop on DTC as yes, we need to do better?
It's not about doing better. I wanted to just present ideas and help people, and really, wine hobbyists are not your audience. that just don't focus on them. You're gonna get them whether you're gonna get them no matter what.
Right.
What other audiences, what other existing communities can you tap into? Right. And just find things that you like and you enjoy and communities that you are part of. And how do you bring them in a genuine way?
Like how you have tie-dye shirts.
Yeah.
Right? No, but people come in and they're and like you can listen to records. Like,
or like I talked to this woman afterwards, and she came up to me and she's like, runs a really small winery in Oregon. She's like, well, I'm a young woman. I started fly fishing, and it's just me and a bunch of old rich dudes. And
totally,
like I was like, so start hosting like fly fishing can you do little events, whatever, and like just bring them in. What do they want? You know, and what everybody wants right now, what we are starved for in the U.S. is community. We are starved for engagement. Amen. And wine brings people together. Yeah. You know, and that's what we've done for 20 years is we've brought people together. We were talking about this the other day at Wine Riot, the amount of people that got engaged at Wine Riot because they had their first date at Wine Riot was they would nuts. Later. We had people that met at our events, like dozens. And these are just the ones that we know about. And Rosé Mansion, you know, we'd have 25,000 people a month be coming. And it was the amount of birthday parties we did, the amount of gatherings we had. People would take photos of them and their friends because they'd be like, we have not all been together in the same room in 2 or 3 years. And we don't even have photos of the last time we were together. And then they could come to Rosé Mansion. They could have a really fun time. They could have a couple drinks and they would leave with really great photos of them and their best friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know? And that wine does that. Wine brings people together.
Yeah.
So were you meeting with Stacy about?
They did an event last night.
We did an event with Stacy. Yeah. So Stacy like emailed us.
Yeah.
So Stacy emailed us 4 or 5 months ago, and it was like a Friday night, and I'd had a couple drinks, and Morgan's like, "Oh, hey, Stacy just like, you know, Blood of Gods." I was like, I want to prove that I'm a fan. And so I ran and I got all of my issues, and I was like, take a photo and send it to Stacy. So we're like, we're like, it's like the Wednesday Adam TV show, right? Where like Wednesday is like all black goth girl, and then her roommate's like the glitter pink, you know, like confetti girl. That's us, but we're best friends.
I was lamenting that we didn't get to go to that.
I saw the post on
Rebel School of Wine mashup is.
There'll be more.
There'll be more. Yes, this is just the first.
We're signed up for. Let's start. It's not on our list of events that Jasmine tells us at our staff meetings,
right?
But we are signed up for the annual merrymaking in Walla Walla.
We'll be there this year.
Yeah, we're excited.
I think I'm going to be on my way to Isabel's wedding, so you guys are going to go have fun without me.
Hell yeah! I already told my dad.
I'm going to the south of France in the middle of summer for a wedding, and I have a great time. And I'm sad that I'm not going to be in Walla Walla.
Yeah, I told my dad. I was talking to him yesterday. He lives in the upper northwest corner of Washington. And last time we went to Walla Walla, I flew in, stayed with him for a couple days, and then I drove. But this time I said, hey, we're going to be up there, but this time you're going to drive to me and you're going to see what we do when we go out on the road.
That's awesome.
And he is married to a Southern Baptist minister's daughter. So when I mentioned death metal, and she was listening too, I think she was probably going, oh, hell no, you ain't going to that. But I'll get him.
Well, that's like, I had to get some mint tea with honey because we were doing this event last night. It was just, the later it got, the louder the metal music got. And so then you end up yelling and shouting.
And then you did another talk at Unified or two? Or
we did a panel at Unified that we put together on design and branding and how the goal of good design is to tell a story. And I gave the example. I had 3 photos of 3 different restaurants. I had, you know, a super fancy French restaurant in Monaco that looked like a palace, an Italian restaurant, like family with the photos on the walls and the tablecloths, checkered ones, and then a dive bar. And the design of those 3 places tells you exactly what you're going to get. Each of those designs tells a very clear story. And so the thing with design is whether you pay attention to it or not, it's telling a story. And you want it to tell the story that aligns with who you are and who your brand is. Like if you go to a dive bar and end up getting stuck with a $600 a person tasting menu, that's not good, right? You're not going to do very well.
Actually, I probably like that.
I'm not. You could do that, but not if you walked in not knowing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and our big thing was like, whether you know it or not, design is telling customers, yes, you're welcome here, or no, you're not.
Well, no, you're not. It's pulling people in, but it's pushing people other way. You know, like if I see a very corporate looking restaurant, like in a strip mall, I'm going to be like, probably not going there. But what if it is really good? Then, you know, they're missing out.
Right. So,
and actually, I just want to shout out, you got a shout out because
that's really actually what I'm here for.
We talked about how part of our book, one of the things that we noticed while we were designing other books, you know, we knew that Tyler was going to talk about wine really differently, and we knew we needed to also show people that it was different. And so as the creative director of the book, I looked at all the other books that existed, and so many really great wine books had just like rolling hills landscape photos. And we're like, that's great. And then like some oyster pairings, you know? And we're like, that's awesome. But again, our book is about the story of people. It's about the winemakers, and it's about the customers who are actually coming. And so we showed the spread of Sonoma, and we showed the picture of Sam Couturi, like in the
we illustrated Sam. We did not tell him.
And we told everyone that it was Curry, you know, in the floaty up the river, and really just showing people, you know, the winemakers, but also that if they come to Sonoma, it's not just about wine. There's all these other things that are part of the adventure that they're going to have.
But we wanted the book to be different, and so we had to show using design that it was different. Mm-hmm. And we wanted the book, like I wrote the book about people, and so we needed to show people in the book. So, you know, the winemaking spread is all, every book has a winemaking spread. That's how wine is made, and there's never a human being in there. And, you know,
we're like, people are
the ones who make wine.
Blood, sweat, and tears in that shit.
You know?
We try not to bleed into it.
You know what I mean.
But it happens.
After the 80s,
it happens for sure.
After the 80s, you know.
Yeah, fair. And I do, for the record, the reason that you're here is an hour and 12 minutes into the podcast so we could talk about my illustration in the book. It took a while for me to admit to it, but that's what we're here for.
Great, we got there.
We got there.
I got a text message from Sam, just like, is this photo? I was like, yep. Mm-hmm, yeah.
I think Curry got in there too, right?
Yeah, Curry's in there.
Really,
for people that don't know, Curry is your dog.
My yellow lab.
Yeah.
He's 11 now.
Damn.
Yeah. He's getting old.
Still acts like a puppy.
Still acts like a fucking idiot.
And how can people get this book if they want it?
Yeah, so Rebel School of Wine, they can buy it from our website, rebelschoolwine.com.
And is that better for you? Do you want them to buy it through your website?
Yeah, I would prefer.
So let's just don't even tell them about it.
Well, no, but the great thing is that it is sold, you know, it's a major publisher. It's like published by HarperCollins. I think it's in 800 or 900 stores. They don't really tell me. And so it's
but it's
widely
in major
distributed.
chains,
So
it's
either,
widely distributed.
Yeah,
right.
you could get, you know, buy it from me, buy it from a small independent
Your
bookstore.
local bookstore, yeah.
They're all over the country. I think it's in 400 independent bookstores.
And they can order it.
Yeah, and I did get
And then
nominated
they
for
get the
James
money.
Beard Award, so it is a good book.
Congratulations.
Very nice.
Right? Only wine book in any category. I lost to a sake book.
And is it in wine shops? Do wine shops carry?
Some wine shops carry it, like Wine and Egg in LA does. We're doing an event there
Cool.
soon, and some wine stores carry it. If people want to wholesale it, they can wholesale it through us too. Like we just pass on whatever we buy it for, but we can offer signed copies. I sign them. We started selling them directly, so you get signed copies from us. And for the first year, we walked them up our 2-story stairs in Chinatown in New York because we live in Manhattan. And then we'd walk up 800 pounds of books every couple of weeks. And then we'd walk them down and bring them to the post office. There's a lot of love in just the fulfillment of this.
And for the record, if you don't give a fuck about wine, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but if you don't care about wine at all, following you guys just for the shit that you're doing in your apartment and the projects and like whatever is going on in that funhouse is probably worth it.
You guys should come to New York and do a podcast there. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be in New York for the Moon Mountain District in May.
Yeah, we
cool.
could do it
Okay.
under the disco ball chandelier.
Perfect. All my dreams come true.
We'll make sure there's video component that
Perfect.
time.
And how can people follow you on like all the socials and stuff?
Yeah, so we have, you know, Rosé Mansion. We just launched a sticker book about Rosé Mansion, so you can follow us at Rose Wine Mansion is the Instagram account, Rebel School Wine, and then I'm just Tyler Balliet, Morgan 1ST because her last name is first. And if you message any of these accounts, we're the ones responding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please DM us and like send us stuff.
And the sticker book is out now?
Yeah.
The sticker book is out. Yeah, we made a Rosé Mansion sticker book with 25 women artists. It's all about like the theme of wine, food, travel, and we gave the artists just said, make us stickers on these themes. And it's really, really fun. There's 2,500 stickers from all kinds of different artists. And Morgan was mad that there weren't cool wine stickers. And that is actually a longer story. It's a revenge sticker book, but you can read about that on the website.
Aren't they all?
We got a negative review from a wine publication, and Morgan got really mad. And
This is my Care Bear stare of like, I'm just going to send glitter and hearts and sparkles at you.
Oh, maybe we may have talked about this bad review a little
the whole
bit.
story's on the website too.
Yeah.
It's a revenge sticker book. And so we're just like, we're punching back with glitter and confetti.
And happiness.
Fun is meaningless.
Right?
Fun is meaningless.
Well, and now do we have some of the stickers on the water heater?
The water heater has been christened.
Has been christened.
Yeah. More companionship for the water heater, so it lasts for fucking ever.
When that thing does die, we are taking the cover off of that thing, flattening it out, and making it an art installation.
I think we should probably have like a full Viking funeral,
Or why don't you just fill it with wine?
or just fill it with wine. No, there's a practical idea. Get rid of that.
What we did at Rosé Mansion is we had a giant wine tank that we bought from a winery in Oregon that was broken, and we just put a keg of rosé in it and then wired it so it came out the tap, so it looked like we had.
But it was so cool.
Sample valve.
Just do that over here. Yeah, just like you could pull a tap out of the.
Can we do a party with them?
Yes.
I want to do one of our
yes,
parties where you
done.
help plan it, because all your parties
So
sound amazing.
we don't have to do the fucking party planning anymore.
No, so then we can go.
That was the worst thing about running Wine Riot, was that I made the event of my dreams and I could never actually go.
I totally feel that.
Yeah.
How many concerts have we been to that we didn't actually go to?
Yeah. Everything sounds like such a great idea until you realize, oh shit, we got to do all this shit.
Right.
And then
This
people
sounds like
leave
fun.
and you're like, oh shit, we got to clean up all this shit.
And we're tired.
Looks cool on Instagram. Wish I could have been there.
But it's so worth it. It's so worth it because bringing people together.
And
100%.
seeing
No,
like how
it's what it's all
excited
about.
people get in their pictures. Yeah.
All right, so we're all gonna. Well, you all are gonna hang out in Walla Walla. What else is happening in the near future for the Rebel School of Wine
We have
and associated LLCs?
we have an associated LLCs. So just like how Rebel School of Wine book, the outline was written in 2010, which is the outline we actually used. The amount of wine, fun, business ideas we have in our grab bag, and we have like. If we were at another hour and 15-minute podcast,
we actually have
you
a
wouldn't
plane to
even
catch.
dig into those. We have a lot of really fun stuff that we're doing this year. We have to kind of sort it out and decide.
We're aligning which one's the correct next.
But I have some
chess
really,
piece.
we have some really fun stuff.
Cool. All right, well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
But around the country, we don't have to go to New York, do we?
Get to. Fuck. We like to travel to places. Come to Sonoma. Go to New York.
We
whatever
will be
you do,
coming
buy
here
wine.
a lot more. We lived in slow in the pandemic. We still have 2 cars in LA and like in California.
Don't worry,
so-
there's more
Yeah, no,
scattered
okay.
across
Do
the
you
country.
remember
coming.
the Mazda Miata that was in this parking lot for a few
Yeah.
years?
That's mine.
That was Tyler's.
I still have it. Yeah. And so,
Joel was watching
Yeah,
it
Joel
by
was
taking
watching
it
it.
out on spins every once in a while with the top down.
look, you will always have us in the winter because it is snowing in New York right now. And
Yeah,
we
need to
are
escape.
excited to spend as much time in California as humanly possible. No, we love it here. And we've lived in California and we love coming here. And so we'll do stuff here too. Cool. But the cool stuff's going to be in New York.
Thank you for having
Right.
us.
Thank
Oh,
you
you're
so
very
much. You ladies are an inspiration, man. I mean, it was fun to just sit here and listen to the whole process.
Well, and it's really like, Second Glass, Wine Riot, all these things are so ahead of their time, and clearly what this industry still needs to freaking figure out. And I'm happy to be part of it, and happy I got into the book.
And I think instead of people saying wine is supposed to be serious or wine should be fun, wine can be fun. You just need to think about it differently.
Well, it can be either, and it can be both.
Right.
It can be whatever
be
you
both.
want it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I always tell people in the tasting house is, just we take the wine very seriously.
Yeah.
You don't have to take yourself so fucking seriously.
Yeah.
It is, at the end of the day, just some.
We take it serious for you.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. There we go.
We'll do the heavy lifting.
We'll do the heavy lifting. Or not. We'll have forklifts and people do the heavy lifting. And, we're not going to carry any cases of wine up any 2-story walk-ups in Chinatown right now, I'll tell you what.
Our calves are like chiseled out of stone.
Cool. Thank you so much. This is a perfect way to send Sam and I off on a trip. We got to go move our cars in the parking lot, I'm told, and then we got an Uber picking us up. We are going to Dallas.
Well, first you have to taste my samples of wine.
All right,
I gotta go pack my bag, man.
yeah.
Car's here in 20 minutes. I'll be fine.
You're helping with
fine.
Jean de Bois blending.
That's the most important thing.
There we go.
Wait, is there a whole room devoted to it? I need a blending room with some pink walls and lots of
I'll
stickers.
get Tyler Morgan on it right now.
Never doing blending in a normal, boring room again.
Oh my God, that picnic table was terrible.
We do have an extra disco ball we can send you.
Oh my God, don't tell Sam that. All right, everyone, get the book.
Get the book.
But go to the events. Right. I have a feeling you're going to see us there.
Or at least our pictures.
100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is
You're
wonderful.
very
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.